Thank you so much for joining us on this snowy day for our annual Tuba Christmas event. It's a joy to get together with all of these low brass players and to share these Christmas carols with you. So thank you so much for being here. We have a smaller group this year than we have in the past because of the weather, but it's been a fun group to work with this afternoon and to put these Christmas carols together. So thank you so much for joining us. Karen, how many years have we done this?
10.
This is our 10th year in Grand Rapids of having Tuba Christmas. So we hope to see you next year for the 11th as well. But it's been fun doing this for 10 years. I started out at the first one years ago just playing, and it's really a joy to conduct. O Come, O Come, Emmanuel is one of the oldest Christmas carols in existence, certainly the oldest that is commonly known today. It dates back to 1770 in the reign of Charlemagne when it was sung as an antiphon, which is basically like Gregorian chant. So as you listen to this melody and you imagine monks chanting in a resonant abbey or a room perhaps not too different than this, you can imagine the low sounds that we're making coming from the monks. The tune from Joy to the World is often attributed to Handel, and for years and years and years I told my students that. So this was by Handel. And I just recently found out it's actually not. It's very similar to a part from the Messiah, from the Oratorio of the Messiah, which of course is the famous piece of music that the Alleluia chorus comes from. Well, there's another part of the Messiah where the melody is very, very similar to this tune that is Joy to the World is based on, which is an old hymn tune called Antioch. And because it was so similar, people recognized that similarity instantly, and they took one of the compositional devices that Handel used and they put it into the Christmas Carol just because the tunes were so similar. And that compositional device that they transposed from the Messiah into the hymn tune Antioch and into Joy to the World is the echo that we're all familiar with when we sing this in church. The low voices echo the high voices, and here you'll hear the tubas echoing the euphoniums. So that part of it actually does come from Handel, and it's kind of borrowed from the Messiah, even though the actual original tune didn't come from him. That's called the Wassail Song, and it's the words to that come down to us from a museum that has a broadside from the 1850. A broadside would be like a big, if you think almost like a protest sign, but with Christmas Carol lyrics on it. And they would walk around with these signs, these big broadsides, and hold them up in front of the carolers as they were walking around London caroling. And a wassailing song was a song that asked for food or drink. And so they would go and they would sing and they would ask for something in return for their performance. It's kind of a Christmas version of Trick or Treat. We're gonna have this quartet now play for you "O Holy Night." That was a beautiful tune that I don't think gets used enough at Christmas time. That was Bring a Torch, Jeanette Isabella. And next we're going to share with you our down in the basement version of Silent Night. euphonium players get together every year around this time to celebrate Tuba Christmas, and this was all started in honor of one of the great tuba teachers and euphonium teachers of the past century, whose name was William Bell, or Bill Bell. And he taught just about every prominent tuba or euphonium player. And if everyone on this stage were to take our tuba and euphonium teachers and then find their tuba and euphonium teachers and then find their tuba and euphonium teachers, that path almost always leads back to Bill Bell. Just to use myself as an example, because I know my own story, I had the opportunity to study first with a man in Kalamazoo named Michael Shannon, who did an outstanding job of getting me started playing on the tuba when I was in middle school and high school. And his tuba teacher was Mr. Robert Whaley, who was the professor at Western, who I later ended up studying with. And Mr. Whaley, when he had been a young man, studied with Bill Bell at IU. And so in my case, that's just a few generations removed. And there are many, many people who are even more closely connected than I am to that. So we every year we gather in honor of Bill Bell and all of the teaching that he has done for us as tuba and euphonium players. And this next piece was his favorite chorale. And the German title, I apologize for those of you who have much better German than I do, which is probably most of you, but Komm, süßer Tod, or Tod, translates as Come Sweet Death, which may seem like a strange title for Christmas time, but the original meaning of that in the musical context was someone who had lived a long and full life and had worked very, very hard their entire life. Think of someone like Johann Sebastian Bach, who wrote this music. This is by Bach. Was famous for being an incredibly hard worker his entire life. And at the end of that life, recognizing that you've had a full life, you've worked your hardest for your family and for your community and for your God, and realizing, all right, I've done everything I have everything I can, I've given everything I have. Come Sweet Death, and that's the context of this title. So this is Bill Bell's favorite Bach chorale, Komm süßer Tod. I want to recognize someone who's very important to making Tuba Christmas happen here in Grand Rapids. That is Karen Dunham. She's been sitting back there on the right corner. And she may want to say something to you guys. Karen, as she's coming down here, I'll tell you that Karen does all of the background work, all of the setup for Tuba Christmas. I just get to come here on a Sunday in December and have fun with my tuba and euphonium friends, and she makes it very, very easy for me. She literally does all of the work setting this up and making that happen. So let's all give Karen a round of applause, please.
Nice to have a director who plays tuba. Matt Palmieri. He'll tell you more about the horns in a moment because he knows more about the horns than I do. I will tell you that our furthest people drove about 166 miles from Armada over in St. Clair, Macomb County. They came in last night. They just love my Tuba Christmas event here, so they are here in the front row, the baritone players. And we have somebody who drove from Royal Oak, not quite as far. He's going to play 5 or 6 Tuba Christmases this season. Hey, Gabe. You might notice the generations that we have. I asked for ages earlier, and some folks admitted to being 12, 13, 14 years old. Middle school students up here playing Tuba Christmas. Wave at me, kids. And on the other end of the spectrum, somebody is older than me. I had a birthday yesterday. I'm still celebrating. Somebody here is 80 years old. We have a father-daughter pair playing their 3rd Tuba Christmas from Rockford. Randy? Daughter says she liked it so much she wants to keep coming back. And finally, we have some ringers. There's a lot of people up here who say, there's no trumpet Christmas. Gee, I wonder why. There's no clarinet Christmas. I think I'll get a baritone or a tuba and come try to play. It's not that hard. It's just one hand instead of 2. So I know we have a clarinet player, some percussion, and some trumpet players. So if you're a ringer, wave at the crowd for us. You might notice we're all using books. They came out about 35 years ago, and you buy the book. It's good forever. You show up to rehearsal. You run the charts. You come in here and play a concert. And we've never played together before. I think the quartet, they might know each other, but they've never played before. We started rehearsing about 1 o'clock, and we pulled it off. So they sound great. And we always do this. They exercise their biceps a little bit. Raise your horns in the air. Now's the time to take your picture. All right, Matt, tell us about the horns.
Well, we've got several different kinds of horns up here. We have euphoniums. Well, lift those up high, please. We have 3-valve and 4-valve euphoniums, and there are horns that run straight through. There are also some compensating horns, which means that when they press down the 4th valve, the air goes back around for another cycle through the instrument. Go ahead and put those down. We have B-flat tubas, which are most commonly used in schools. Lift those up. And those come in piston valve and rotary valves. We also have at least one C tuba here, which, we got 2 C tubas, and even though those are both full-sized orchestral style horns, they're actually about 2 feet shorter than the B-flat tubas that you saw over there on the other side. And we have an F tuba over here, which actually happens to be exactly the same length as a French horn. If you unwound them all, they'd be identical length. That's just a wider bore, a bigger size of tubing to make the tuba rather than a French horn. And then Karen is playing a Civil War era horn. That's actually from the Civil War era, right? It's not a reproduction. And so those old Civil War era horns are definitely a collector's item. Sometimes they play back over the shoulder, for the band would be in front of the army as they were moving from one place to another. And sometimes they're built like that, where they're more like a traditional horn that you would see today, just a little taller and a little narrower. It makes it easier to hold as you're marching around. Did I forget anybody? I think I got all of them. So I've intentionally tried not to talk a great deal today so that we could keep things moving, because I know the weather outside is not super great, but we'll get you guys going, hopefully back safely home. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'd like to finish by sharing Jingle Bells with you. If you have keys, feel free to get those out and jingle along with us.
Lord.